All right, welcome everyone to today's press conference on the events this weekend. The entire country was, of course, traumatized by what happened to Mr. George Floyd, and across this country, people with great passion correctly ventured out to express their outrage. This happened in South Carolina, in Greenville, but of course, it's really all around the country. The governor, I thought, made very fine remarks earlier when he said people should go out and express their outrage about what happened, and that's the appropriate thing to do, but to do it peaceably. And indeed, in cities across this state, that's exactly what happened, including Greenville. And we're here to talk about Greenville and our weekend. We're very grateful that people with a great deal of passion and intensity, indeed, did show up. We actually had three separate events in the downtown area, which is kind of unprecedented. But many people were involved. I want to begin by saying that the passion we displayed, again, in Greenville was peaceful. And I want to thank the people who are responsible for that, because in a lot of places in the country, unfortunately, that was not the case. But it was the case in Greenville. And we're proud of the people who played a role in making that so, that expressed their views so strongly and sent their message, made sure their voices were heard, and did so peaceably. Because again, that wasn't always the case. So I want to note that we're grateful to the organizers, and we thank them for promising up front to put together an appropriate and peaceful demonstration, and they did so. They lived up to their promises. On Saturday morning, a resident of Greenville, a young resident of Greenville, Ms. Dolores Bowens, organized a group in front of the Peace Center, and this was all done very quickly. This all happened in such a tight time frame. I invited folks to come, and a couple hundred people showed up at the Peace Center on Saturday morning for a great event, and it was peaceful, of course, as well. And then Saturday afternoon, again, put together quickly, and so not everything goes according to plan, because these things do happen quickly. But I want to thank Mr. Bruce Wilson and Mr. Derek Quarles for organizing that event and doing so again peaceably. As we may have some discussion, there were some issues along the way with that first large event, with so many people there and so little time to get it organized. There may have been some miscommunication along the way, but all told, it was peaceable, and people's voices were definitely heard. And then on Sunday, and that was Black Lives Matter of Greenville. On Sunday is Black Lives Matters of the Upstate. Mr. Gerardo Curtin showed up with his organization, and what an organization he had. He had some very fine people who really knew how to organize a large crowd like that, because these are enormous undertakings. I can't emphasize that enough, and you don't know who's going to show up and what everybody's going to do. I think on Sunday we had close to 100,000 people perhaps. And that was also a place where people expressed themselves very passionately and very loudly. But at the same time, it was peaceable. And this didn't happen by accident. The organizers promised that we would have peaceful demonstrations in Greenville, in our downtown, and we did. And I want to thank them for holding that line and maintaining that commitment. Second, I want to thank the participants, of course, who showed up. We had people of all ages. If anybody thinks they saw a glimpse of this kind of person or that, no, you didn't. It was extremely diverse. All ages of people, young people. I saw 10 and 11-year-olds with their family, people in all walks of life. And the participants who showed up, they conducted themselves well in our downtown and walked all over downtown, marched and chanted, again, with great passion, but safely and appropriately. And then, of course, our professional law enforcement community. The sheriff and the police chief, thank you, gentlemen, for superb professionalism by your department, the people in your department. Again, they had a lot on them. I'm sure they'd be the first to admit they perhaps would do some things differently, but the idea was to allow people to have their say and to move about the city. And I'm sure there'll be some questions to them about some tactics and some maneuvers here and there, but overall, in fact, everybody's grateful that it was a safe event. an event where people could have their say. And again, things were good in Greenville, South Carolina. And I think the message was very well delivered. The main purpose of today's press conference, though, and I'm here to learn as well, is to review this weekend's activities. I'm going to be taking notes. I think all of us will be, because we can learn from every experience like this. In fact, I would even say, I think the police chief and sheriff would agree with me, that they learned from Saturday's event. They learned things that helped them on Sunday's event. And perhaps in some ways, Sunday's event went more smoothly than Saturday's event. But we learn, and we learn along the way. And I think that's going to be our attitude in the city of Greenville going forward as well. So here today we have the police chief, Interim Chief Thompson, and Sheriff Lewis will have remarks. And then after that, we have Mr. Stacy Mills, Urban League of the Upstate. We have Reverend J.M. Fleming, NAACP. And we have Lillian Brock Fleming, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Greenville, for some remarks and discussion as too. And again, I want to say this is really an information session to ask questions. There were incidents and episodes. There were learning opportunities. And again, I'm here to take notes as well and have my own questions, because this is a process we will carry on for the next couple of days as we learn from this. But above everything else, we are a grateful community that people in Greenville came together in such large numbers on such short notice, made their voices heard, and did it peaceably. That is saying a lot. So thank you.